I have to run, and I have to tell so many things. So how that works? No, okay. So I have to come to the beginning when we are speaking about risk compensation and PrEP. So we are coming to the dinosaurs. We are speaking about sex. When we are speaking about HIV, STDs, PrEP, it's sex. So it's sex, and it's the divine punishment for doing sex. Keep that in mind. And when we're speaking about prevention, we are also speaking about a particular kind of sex and about particular populations that are loaded and that we have to fear. So we found this quote from the 1936 that stated that we could stop syphilis, but that wasn't going to be possible until people don't stop having prejudice about the people who has syphilis. And then there is PrEP, and in 2016, we have this article stating that we have to wait before implementing PrEP because people could stop fearing HIV, and that would be a major issue. So, in fact, we see that even in the 30s, we already knew that an epidemic could be stopped, just like Valerie was saying this morning. It wasn't going to happen, not only because of implementation things or monitoring or authorization, but because there is moral, and we have to fear. So, this is really creepy. So, just like risk compensation. So we found this risk compensation that is very concerning, and there is a lot of literature about this. And when you start working on risk compensation and PrEP, you found that it's a much older concept. It's not only PrEP, it was also PEP, but it was also the HPV vaccine and the morning after pill and treatment. I don't know if you guys remember some papers from the 2000s where we were stating now that people are going to feel better, and since they are going to feel better, they will have more sex. And then we can see an increase in HIV. So the information regarding the fact that viral load makes you not transmitting HIV should not be public. Then we have the pill, where let's come to the 50s or 60s. One of the main barriers to pill was the fact that women were about to have more STIs, and then they will have more sex. So, oh my God, it was, so, I know, I'm afraid. But we found the same reflection when public health were promoting condoms. So just to be sure, do you think that if condoms are a public health strategy, people are going to have more HIV? Is anybody here that can say that? Yeah, it's the same with PrEP. But it comes also with drug use. So it's about moral things. You know, it's drug use, it's sex. You don't have to do all this kind of stuff. You have to fear, and please don't have sex. So let's come to the concepts. When you are looking to the literature, you can find that we are using disinhibition and risk compensation as if they were the same, but in fact they are not. And disinhibition is more what happens when you are drinking alcohol and suddenly you do things that you wouldn't do normally. Risk compensation, get ready for this, is a concept that defines that you accept to have a quantity of risk because you want to obtain a benefit from an activity. It's a very hard to understand. So let's see some examples. In fact, the concept of risk compensation comes from the safety car world. So in the 60s, there were some features regarding seatbelts and brakes that were put into cars. And then there were years of literature showing that this would increase risk-driving behavior. And then this way of reasoning came to HIV, and we found, for example, that a vigorous condom promotion policy could increase rather than decrease unprotected sexual exposure if it has the unintended effect of encouraging greater sexual activity. So when we have risk compensation and PrEP, the thing that emerges all the time is STIs are rising. But in fact, I think that we are all here because PrEP is there is a low uptake when there is implemented and when there is authorized. And to our knowledge, STIs were increasing before PrEP. But suddenly, this has become the same thing. It's like PrEP is increasing STIs. And the problem with this is that the PrEP outcome is HIV prevention, no STI. So you cannot possibly evaluate risk compensation on HIV using STIs. You should evaluate if there is an increase in HIV, not STIs. And then, from a psychological point of view, we cannot think that HIV and other STIs are the same things. They do not represent the same health threat for the people. And you are not going to put in place the same skills and motivation to prevent them. So you cannot think them as the same thing, even if historically HIV and STIs have gone together. Holt has a very nice paper on some methodological considerations regarding risk compensation. First, most of the study are focused on behavioral measures instead of attitude and risk perceptions. And even the relationship between attitudes, perceptions, and behaviors is not always clear. So even if we had into account this, it wouldn't be really clear. Then most of the literature finally shows that there is not a change in behavior. And even if there was a change in the behavior, the prevention strategy will not be undermined. So, as Golub said last year, our obsession with risk compensation directly impedes PrEP access. So please, PrEP is an opportunity, not a concern. Thanks to PrEP, we are increasing the frequency of HIV and other STIs testing. We are promoting early diagnosis and treatment of HIV and other STIs. In the long term, it is possible that because of the detection of asymptomatic STIs, we will see a decline of STI incidence. But let's forget about STIs. Let's speak about people. Thanks to PrEP, people can have sex without fearing an infection. Thanks to PrEP, there is the opportunity to increase the quality of sexual life of people. And thanks to PrEP, we can empower people to protect themselves and the others. So, the take-home message, risk compensation, stop it. The thing now is that we have to make PrEP a reality for those who need it. And for example, from the EMIS French data, we have observed that men that are eligible to PrEP, that are aware of PrEP, and who have the intention to take PrEP, are never informed about PrEP from their doctors. Then we need a multidisciplinary approach, which is clear, and we really have to think on how we're going to expand PrEP delivery and offer, and how we're going to create demand among other populations. So there is a lot of political will to test other interventions, including PrEP. So thank you very much.